we present Slow Burn, a two-part serial by John Harvey, with Philip Jackson as Nottingham-based jazz-loving Detective Inspector Charlie Resnick. Episode 1.
Hello. Yeah, Resnick. Oh, Graham. What? Fire? Jazz club? What, you mean at Jimmy Nolan's place? A friend, yeah. Yeah, sort of. Okay, I'll be there sharpish. 10-15 minutes. Casualties, Graham?
None, so far as we know, sir. Place closed up around 2. Shouldn't have been anyone left on the premises. Top floor's collapsed right through. Any poor beggar trapped inside would not reckon much for his chances.
Any word yet how it started?
Not up to yet. But I'd reckon it took more than a couple of them beboppers rubbing 2 trumpets together to set this lad off.
I dare say.
Your pal Nolan's over there. Happen you should ask him what he thinks.
Maybe. Meantime, see what you can do to nudge things along.
Right.
Jimmy!
God, Charlie. What are you doing here?
Call me out.
What? For this?
We closed this place down together a few times.
Only fitting you here now, then. That what you're saying?
If you'd rather talk to somebody else.
No. But I still don't see. I mean, Detective Inspector, CID. It's just a fire, Charlie. Hell of a blaze, but fire nonetheless. Accidental. Should have thought you'd bigger fish to fry.
Accidental? Is that what it was?
Oh, Christ, Charlie, what do you think?
I think we'd best move back from here and let these people get on with the job. You're in no fit state to drive. Why not let me give you a lift out?
OK, Charlie. Thanks.
You all right, Jimmy?
Yeah. Remember the first night at the club, Charlie?
Alco and Suit Sims.
Big draw. Big names. Over from the States to play Ronnie's. Took one hell of a lot of persuasion before they'd agreed to come up here. But come they did. In style, too. Drove up from London in this black Daimler, half a mile long. Looked more like a hearse.
20 years back.
22. You were just an ordinary copper. Wet behind the ears.
And you were still playing saxophone.
Like I say, a long time ago.
You played with them that night. Sims and Cone. The last set. Sat in. 4 brothers. I remember that.
My club, Charlie. They weren't exactly going to throw me off the stand. At least, not till they'd been paid.
You were good, Jimmy. Don't do yourself down.
On a good night and with the wind behind me, I was competent. Never more than that.
I still don't understand why you quit.
My 50th birthday, Charlie. Bit of a celebration down the club. Remember?
Yeah.
Still of the Night. Last piece I played. Nice ballad. Slow. Nothing wrong with it at all. Not much right. I could have played it that way, that well, any time in the past 25 years.
And there was something wrong with that?
Oh, I wasn't getting any better, Charlie. 50 years old. Sooner or later I was going to start getting worse. Besides, I had a club to run. No need for me to be up there on the stand blowing. A businessman, that's what I was going to be. Businessman. Pure and simple.
And you don't miss it? The playing?
Now, you were married once, Charlie. Elaine, wasn't it? You tell me, good or bad, whatever it was like. You ever catch yourself missing her?
Take care, Jimmy. We'll talk again soon.
I dare say.
Graham?
He's mashed. Timed it just right.
Ah, well.
So, what did Nolan have to say for himself?
Well, closed the place down early. 12:30, 1:45, slow night.
He went straight down.
Hung around another hour maybe, had a few drinks. Locked up this side of 2. Back home in bed not far short of 2:30.
First call logged by emergency services, 3:27. Male, preferred to remain anonymous. That's as much as we know. Public-spirited type, I dare say. Either way, plenty of time for Nolan to have snuck back down to the club. 10 minutes, 15 tops, all it would need.
Aside from a reason.
It was his, the club. The old shooting match.
So I've always believed.
And he's got no idea what might have set it off.
Apparently not.
And do you believe him?
No reason not to, Graham, not so far. What's so funny?
Oh, nothing. Just thinking any other kind of club, any other kind of bloke, even one you knew, pal, sort of. Them antenna of yours would be second fit to beat the band. But jazz, nah, that's different. Hands of that Bobby Holiday, in your book, that makes them all okay.
Bit of an exaggeration, Graham. You make it sound like being in the Masons.
You had a kind word to say about Ken Clark once.
Stuart. Stuart. Stuart.
Mm?
Oh, come on, Stuart, wake up.
Whatever is it? Why? Oh, for heaven's sake, Joanne, it's still dark out. Oh, we could have another half hour yet.
I'm worried about Scott.
What about him?
I don't remember hearing him come in.
So?
He's scarcely 17 years old.
I know how old he is. Oh, God.
Not here. Stuart, he's not here. He's not in his room.
Well, maybe he got up early for once in his life.
Stuart, he's never been there. The bed's not slept in. He didn't come home. Lynn Kellogg, CID. Yeah? Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Fire officer just rang through, sir. They finished making safe going over the ground.
And they found the cause?
Not that. There's a body.
Oh, Christ.
Child almost beyond recognition, apparently. Whoever it was must have been inside when the place went up. No way of getting out.
And they've no idea who it is?
None.
All right. Graham's due to meet the fire officer later anyway. Have you got anything from last night that can't be picked up later?
Couple of break-ins on the Derby Road. Those antique shops. Not clear yet how much was taken, but whoever it was left a hell of a mess. Kids, most likely.
Hardly priority. Make a quick call, set the minds at rest. Then contact the Home Office pathologist, find out how soon we can expect a report on the body.
Right.
I'm off to have another talk with Jimmy Nolan. I didn't realise you'd started playing again.
I've not.
But I heard.
Ah, you heard nothing.
OK for sit down?
Suit yourself. Shift some of those tape boxes. Make some room.
Enough here to start your own business.
Everyone who ever played at the club, I've got them on there. Live. Mose Allison, Nat Adderley, Pharaoh Saunders. Marvellous stuff.
Few memories there, I wager.
A few. One night, I remember Roland Kirk was over from the States. This was after he'd had his stroke. It wasn't booked in here at all. Not that I hadn't tried. Somewhere further north, some festival. Anyway, there was Roland, heading back down to London in freezing fog. And the driver says, that's it. He's not going any further. Roland, of course, he's all for climbing into the driving seat and taking over. It doesn't matter that aside from being paralysed down one side, he's been sightless more or less since birth. Fog's bad as you say, he tells the driver. Can't see I'm going to be any worse off than you. Anyway, upshot of it is, they pull off the motorway, head here. Round midnight, he's in the club, ready to play. So cold you can see your breath in front of you, but he doesn't care. Borrows an overcoat, some woman's fur hat, my spare horn, and there he is jamming till 2 a.m, one-handed and blind. Him and me, Charlie, chorus after chorus, trading fours. Something I'll never forget. And it's there, right by your hand, and no one's ever heard it. None of it. Only them as were there.
The fire, Jimmy, at the club. I just heard this morning. They found a body.
Oh, Christ, Charlie.
Someone was in there when it went up. Somebody died.
That's the last of his friends I can think of. No one's seen him since 8 o'clock last night, fooling around with somebody's skateboard on the market square.
Don't worry. He'll turn up, you see.
Will he?
Of course he will. What else do you think?
I don't know what to think, I don't.
It's not the first time. No use pretending that it is.
And that makes it better?
No. Just less worth getting all hot under the collar about, that's all. Just take it easy.
God, Stuart. Sometimes I wonder if you've got any feelings at all.
Oh, don't start.
Oh, maybe if he was your own flesh and blood, you'd react differently. But I doubt it.
That's not fair. I've always treated Scott as if he was mine, and you know it.
Really? Maybe you should ask Scott about that. If he gives you the chance.
Right. I've got an appointment at 10:30. A client. I'm scheduled to take to a viewing. I can't afford to be late.
I spoke to the pathologist. The deceased was male, aged somewhere between 15 and 24. At this stage, that's about the most she'll say. It's possible to build up some kind of reconstruction of the face, but she made clear that's not just time-consuming, it's decidedly expensive. So identification through dental charts, that's the way to go for now, at least.
You'll check with missing persons, narrow down the possibilities.
On my way over there now.
Oh, one other thing. According to Nolan, somebody broke in round the back of the club.
How long ago?
A week back, give or take. Nothing missing, so he didn't make a report.
Somebody frightened off? Maybe just looking for somewhere warm to sleep?
Possible. Might be worth going back through the files all the same. Check on other incidents in the area. You never know, we might pull somebody in. Might learn something if we talk to them again.
As soon as I've talked to missing persons, I'll get onto it.
Right, Stevens and Lloyd. Joanne, what? Oh, no, of course I haven't. If I'd have heard anything from him, I'd have called you first thing. Besides, he's not exactly going to come waltzing in here. This is the last place... I know. All I mean is, if he gets in touch with one of us, it'll be you, not me. Yes. Well, never mind about that for now. Yeah. Yes. No later than 6:30. I said... Look, Joanne, I'm sorry I've got to go.
As far as we've been able to establish, the fire started down here on the lower floor, basement, cellar, whatever. Seems to have been used for dumping rubbish, and not a lot else. Years, I shouldn't be surprised. Old papers, boxes. Wouldn't have taken much to get it started. Stray match would have done the trick. Once it was away, nothing to stop it reaching the storage cupboard on the ground floor. Half-empty can of turpentine, several litres of paint and some white spirit. That and a good draft. Regular fireball within seconds.
And his cellar, as far as you know, it wasn't in regular use?
According to our information, no. Kept locked, in fact. And before you ask your next question, let me tell you, the metal round the lock was so twisted by the heat of the fire, it was virtually impossible to tell if it was opened with a key or forced.
And all this gubbins in the star cupboard, enough to make you suspicious?
Of its own accord, no. Little bit of DIY place this size, no more than you'd expect.
Not arson men. That's what you say?
Gut feeling? No, likely not. But fact, something down in black and white I might stick my signature to. Too early. Too many questions still to be answered.
Accidental, then, that's what they're saying.
Leaning that way so far. I should have thought you'd be a sight more chipper. Last thing you wanted, banging up your pal Jazzy Jim for torching his own premises, swanning off to Gran Canaria on the proceeds.
Buy himself a decent flat, more like. Place he's living in, not enough room to bring up a cat. And that's without it looking like a cross between the Virgin Megastore and a junk shop on the Alfreton Road.
Not exactly prospered, then, in the cause of bringing pleasure to the masses.
If he has, he's keeping it well hid.
You'll be having a word with his bank manager, I don't doubt. Building society and the lot.
Anything less than a court order will not get much more than time of day.
No other avenues?
You remember Mike Bernardis?
Mad Mike? Organised the world's first mobile sausage cob eating competition. Robin Hood ice creams, that was him too. A particularly bilious shade of Lincoln green. Need a seance, wouldn't he, get much out of him?
His widow, Clarice. She still runs that drinking club in Bottle Lane. Not much she doesn't know, that line of work. Thought I'd call in later. Check out the beer.
Starting to fancy him for it, then, Nolan? Something not proper and above board?
Just a feeling, Graham. Nothing more.
Hello?
You know who this is.
Yes, I know.
Whatever's going on, you're going to be able to keep me out of it.
Yes, I'll try. I'll do what I can.
Make sure you do.
Joanne? Joe? Joanne? Joanne, are you up there?
Joanne? What are you doing in here?
Blimey. If a ghost had walked in, I'd have thought it more natural.
Nice to see you too, Clarice.
Nice enough you put your hand in your own pocket.
You used to keep a good bottle of Worthington White Shield.
Still do. What you really here for?
Jimmy Nolan.
What about him?
You know what happened.
I know that place of his burnt down.
Anything else?
I know he was a fool.
How come?
10 years back he was offered a fortune for that club. Some brewery wanting to rip out its guts, turn it into one of them state-of-the-art cafe bars, with all the personality of dog mess stuck on the underside of your shoe.
They turned it down.
Went back on his hands and knees not 4 years later, begging them to take it off his hands at a quarter of the price. Things had moved on, they didn't want to know.
So why the change of heart? On Jimmy's part, I mean.
Oh, he was in trouble. People had stopped going out, spending money. You've seen it, you know what it's like if anyone does. Oh, there was some, there always are. They still had money, plenty of it, more than before. You just had to look at some of them clothes shops 50 yards from here to know that. Prices you wouldn't believe. Somebody's buying, spending. But not Jimmy's customers. What they were doing, staying at home with a video from the corner shop and a can of cheap lager. Now, somewhere like this, small, keep your head down, one way or another you'll do all right. But Jimmy, all those overheads, bands and the like, up to his neck in it so far, if he opened his mouth to shout for help, he'd have drowned.
So how did he manage to keep going?
You know Russell Venner?
I should do. Justice of the Peace at one time. City Council. On the board at county. Or forest. Or both. Director of more firms than you can easily count.
Word is, he bailed Jimmy Nolan out.
Did he really? Now, why would he do that, do you suppose?
I can't say, Mr. Resnick. Except there's one thing I do know for certain. Whatever Russell Venner did, he didn't do it for nothing.
What I said before about you not caring, I'm sorry, it wasn't fair.
That's okay. You were upset. I understand.
When Scott stayed away last time, it was 2 nights, wasn't it? 2 nights before I came back home.
Yes, that's right.
And you think we should wait?
Yeah.
You don't think we should go to the police?
Not yet, no. He's not a kid, Joanne. Not like one of them you read about. 7 years old, 9, 13. He's a young man.
If you're sure.
We'll give him that second night, like before. Trust him, Joe. We have to do that.
Okay, take it easy. Dizzy, I know it's late, but that doesn't mean you can take a chunk out of my calf. Hang on. Hey, that's my finger. There, get that down you. And you, Pepper, don't you turn your nose up at that. There's plenty out there in the cold for whom that'd be a welcome sight. And I'm not just talking about cats. Morning, Len. Anything new?
Printout came through for missing persons, sir. Young people between 15 and 24, list as long as your arm, longer. Checking them all through will take forever.
Right. We should be getting a full report from the pathologist any day. You never know, it might be more specific than we think. Meantime, why don't you have a word with the information officer? See if we can't get one of those computer whiz kids slaving over their hard drive or whatever it is they do. Then maybe you could follow up on that break-in Nolan mentioned. I still think that might connect somewhere.
Right, sir.
Mrs. Wheelston, do you want to come through now?
Thanks, Joanne, love.
There, sit yourself down.
Right.
That's it.
Put this on, shall we?
Yeah. Now, what is it today? Manicure and half leg as usual?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Or do you want to just pop your rings off for me then?
Oh, sorry, dear. Right, of course.
Lovely.
There you go.
Now, how do you want these tips filed? Square or rounded?
Oh, I don't know. Rounded, I think. Yes. Oh, your boy now. Scott, is it?
Scott, that's right.
How's he getting on these days?
Oh, fine, thanks. He's fine. Oh, let me have your other hand now.
Well, at college, wasn't he? Business management, something of the sort?
Business studies. Yes, he was. He didn't really take to it, I'm afraid. The statistics, that was the trouble. He couldn't seem to settle down to them somehow.
Oh, we'll find something, though, dear. You mustn't worry. There's all manner of things these days. Something for everybody. Not like when I was a girl.
That's right. That's what Stuart and I tell him.
Oh, he'll listen, I'm sure. Good parents like you, a good home. Oh, it's shocking what you see on the television. Dropping out, is that what they call it? Wasting a life, if you ask me.
We did think we ought to let him have a little time, find his feet, not make him rush into
Police this
things.
morning revealed that the body of a young person was found among...
Oh, yes, wasn't that dreadful, dear, that fire?
Quiet.
Well, I'm sorry, dear, but...
Be quiet.
Has so far remained unidentified. Police report that anyone
Where are you going, dear?
information about the possible identity of the victim,
Whatever's the matter?
and an incident room has been set up.
And here's the shower room. Quite separate, as you see. A small sink, so that you can be getting on and shaving without waiting for the wife to get through titivating herself in the bathroom. Power shower, of course, fitted as standard. And
Stuart! Stuart!
excuse me for just one moment. Please do carry on looking around.
Stuart!
Joanne, whatever is it? What's happened?
You've got to come. Come now.
Come where? I can't just... What's happened? Is it Scott? Tell me.
It was on the news. Stuart, they found a body.
And Scott's your son, Mr. Hubble.
Stepson.
Look, you've got to let us know. It said on the radio.
Whatever it said, Mrs. Hubble, I'm afraid I can't give you information I don't have.
But you must know something.
Mrs. Hubble, believe me, I do understand your concern. But let's take this calmly, shall we? I assure you, with regard to the body found on the side of the fire, no identification has been made so far.
Oh, God.
So why don't we begin at the beginning and I'll get down all your details. Now, when was the last time either of you saw Scott?
Hey, up.
Morning, Sarge. No idea where the boss is, I suppose.
None at all. Somewhat urgent. That was what he said.
Best let me have some more of the salami. Oh, I don't know, maybe half as much again? Yes, right, that looks fine. How about that piece of cheese? The smoked, that's it. Now, let's see. Pickled cucumbers. Oh, no, the large jar. Right. Oh, and cheesecake. Baked, yes. Oh, you could be a bit more generous than that. There, that should do the trick. Uh-huh. Fine. Okay, yep. Got it. Got it. Okay, thanks. See you again.
Good morning to you, Inspector. Espresso, yes?
Please, Aldo.
And for your friend here.
Tea'll be fine.
Right away.
Regular protocol, this, by the look of it.
Good coffee. Polish deli just up the way. Fruit and veg. It suits.
Look after yourself, then, in the food line.
Try to.
Here we are. One espresso, one nice cup of tea.
Thanks, Aldo.
So, Charlie, something you wanted to see me about?
I thought you'd been straight with me, Jimmy. Whatever else, I thought I could trust you on that score.
What do you mean?
Jimmy, come on.
It's the lease, isn't it? The club. There I said, let you believe I was the sole owner. That's it, isn't it?
You tell me.
I tried everything. Everything I could think of. Bill posting, ads on local radio. Cut prices back down to the bone. Nothing seemed to make a scrap of difference. Oh, you pick up a few new faces here, lose others a week or so later. I thought it was the music. The music would have to change. Too old-fashioned, maybe, too straight ahead. I got in a DJ, what they call this acid jazz, breakdancing. Crazy stuff, 1,000,000 miles an hour. Jazz funk, jazz fusion, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Cuban, hip-hop even. By the time the accountants had finished poring over the books, I need scarcely have bothered.
Which was when you approached Venner?
And you know.
Rumours?
One of the members at the club, he knew I was in trouble. He was on some board with Venner. Said he'd put in a word. I told him it wasn't necessary. I knew him, you see, Venner. We had connections, but he didn't listen. Went ahead and talked to him anyway. Upshot of it was, Venner came round, called me a fool for not going to him sooner. Offered to lend me 10 grand there and then, interest-free. Well, more or less.
Bit of a philanthropist, is he?
So he'd like you to think. I didn't want to take the money. Reasons of my own, personal, but in the end I did. Of course it wasn't enough, it never is. Next thing you know, he's offering to buy a share in the business. Nothing threatening. 20%, then 25. Few shares for his pals, eager to help out. Family. His wife Nicola, 15% in her name.
And you've got the controlling interest still?
No, Charlie, not anymore. And till the place went up in smoke, there wasn't anything I regretted more.
Before that happened, before the fire, Venner's money hadn't turned things around.
Well, costs just soared. All the extra cash did was keep the bailiffs from the doors.
And Venner knew this?
Oh, yes, he knew.
Not like him, and I thought, to carry on throwing good money after bad. Did he never try and persuade you to sell up? Chuck it all in?
He talked about it once or twice. He knew I'd never agree.
Well, surely he could have forced the issue. All those shares.
His wife, she had the controlling shares.
And she sided with you against her own husband?
Not that straightforward, Charlie. Nicola's not only Venner's wife. She's my goddaughter.
That couple has come in, Huddle?
Hubble.
What are the chances they're right? It's a lad lying on a slab up there at Queen's.
Till we get his charts checked, no way of knowing. Not for sure. One thing, though, running down the list of his friends, a couple of names seem to ring bells.
Try me.
Barry Descott, John Farley.
Yes, used to be with one of them gangs off the Broxtow estate, both of them. Petty thieving, B&E. Rumour was, for a time there was a blind just about every second-hand bar shop in the city. Descott, though, memory serves, he was into motors as well. Anyone's but his own.
Joyriding.
That him all. Setting fire to them, that was young Barry's speciality. One of them in the road.
Broxtow, you said used to be.
Council had him rehoused. Sneinton, St Anne's, maybe Clifton. Shouldn't be too difficult to track down.
I'll get onto it.
You let me know how you get on.
Right, see ya.
Get out of this house. Get out of this house. Spent 70 years trying to save my soul. Spent 23 more down in the hole. Now my soul is alright, but I might get found out. Got myself this house, now I can't get out. Ooh.
Hello?
Detective Inspector Resnick, CID.
Yes,
Mrs. Venner?
absolutely.
I'm sorry to trouble you. I wanted a word with your husband.
Which one?
I'm sorry?
Which word?
Oh, I see.
I've always wanted to ask that, you know, when they say on television all those sad little policemen, Frost and Morse and all the rest of them. I just wanted to have a word. The way they come to the door and say that. Well, you must know what I mean.
I rang your husband's office. They didn't seem too certain of his movements. A meeting, they weren't sure.
And you thought he might be here?
A possibility. I didn't know where else to try.
I'm afraid he's not here. In fact, these days he's rarely here. Always working, Russell. One deal or another, whatever it takes to keep us in this beautiful home. Safe and secure, glimpse through the shrubbery, driving by.
Mrs. Venner?
Which word was it you came all the way out here to have with Russell? Which particular word?
Nolan. Jimmy Nolan.
What do they say? All those women when people like you turn up on their doorsteps unannounced. I think perhaps, Inspector, we should go inside.
God, there you are. All the evidence you need. Vodka bottle, 2/3 empty, lipstick glass. Poor neurotic wife drinking away through the empty afternoons.
Really?
No, as it happens. I'm a highly experienced translator, specialising in technical manuals and business prospectuses. But today I felt like making something fancy from this fancy Italian cookbook. Something for later to go with asparagus and polenta, so I poured myself a glass of wine to help things along, and then something went wrong with the sauce, so I had another glass of wine, and then another, except there wasn't any more. Not chilled, which is when I started on the vodka, and then, before you knew it, the meal was an unmitigated disaster, and there you were at the door, looking, I have to say, somewhat dishevelled, but otherwise awfully serious, and wanting to talk to Russell about Jimmy, and I was. Just a little drunk.
Maybe some coffee?
Can't stand it, it gives me a headache. Mineral water. There's some mineral water here in the fridge. Perhaps you'd like some.
Tell me about Jimmy.
What about him?
You know him well?
Not really.
You wouldn't say you were close?
No.
He is your godfather.
So he is.
And that doesn't mean, you keep in touch?
So he can look after my spiritual welfare.
I suppose.
He was at my first communion. I remember that. There's a picture somewhere. Him looking proud, me in this ghastly little white dress, more bows and tassels than a prize Pekingese. That was a long time ago.
Jimmy's club, you had shares.
I did?
You and your husband, you both had shares.
Then it was a tax thing. Russell does that when it suits him, puts shares in my name.
Which means you exercise some control. Jimmy suggested that when Russell was trying to buy him out, the reason he couldn't was that you owned the controlling shares.
Do you really think my husband would be as stupid as to put me in that position?
But you are his wife.
Exactly.
So Jimmy was wrong?
Jim is a romantic. An old romantic. He always was. If I'm no longer that poor pale creature in a white communion dress, then I doubt I've grown in Jimmy's eyes since he introduced me to his friend Russell Venner when I was scarcely out of my teens.
He introduced you?
I can remember him, tugging me by the arm, so anxious, to where Russell was standing. Here, he said, here she is, my lovely Nicola. Tell me if I wasn't right. Isn't she the most beautiful young girl you've ever seen? Oh, he had my spiritual welfare uppermost that day, did Jimmy. And no mistake.
Right. Well, thank you, Mrs. Benner. Best for getting back.
Mm. Go jump in the lake, go jump out the door. Get out of this house. I've been working stand and I can't stand no more. Get out of this house, get out of this house.
Mrs. Hubble.
You found Scott?
I'm afraid not. Just a few more questions, if that's all right.
That Farley youth, John. If I'm honest, I can't say we ever took to him at all. Stuart told him we didn't think much to the pair of them going round together. Of course, that only made him do it all the more. Best of pals for a while.
And Barry? Barry Descott?
I only ever saw him the once. Late it would have been. They'd been to this party, a whole gang of them. Fetched up back here past midnight. Nearer 1. Stuart and I were in bed. He had to come down. There was such a racket. We both did. This youth, Barry, he was only helping himself to a bottle of whiskey from the cupboard over there. Something special it was. Sort of thank you from one of Stuart's clients. Where do you think you're off to with that? Stuart asked. Kitchen, he comes back, bold as you like. Shall I get you a glass?
And this was when, Mrs. Hubble?
Oh, a while back. 6 months or more. But look, these lads, why is it so important? There's something you're not telling me. There must be.
Anything we can do to help establish where Scott might have got to, who he might have been with. That's the important thing.
And you think this John and Barry might know something?
Every little lead we have, anything, we have to follow it up. Until you do, there's no way of telling if it might be important or not. I know it's hard, but you try not to worry. The minute we have anything definite, we'll be in touch, I promise.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if maybe we should...
Yes?
There is something we didn't tell you.
It seems he stayed away a couple of days. No warning, not as far as they were concerned. No proper explanation either.
And this was when?
Something over 6 months back.
When he was palling around with Farley and Descott?
Spent both nights on Farley's floor, so he claimed. Parents never pushed him too hard, afraid he'd up and do it again.
Which he did, so it seems.
When did we last have call to bring them in, this pair?
Descott was questioned about a burglary at a pub on the Clifton estate as little as 4 days ago. I had a word with the DC whose case it was. Liked him for it, but in the end nothing to hold him on.
Is there ever?
Hang on though, there's more. You remember you asked me to follow up on that attempted break-in at Nolan's club?
Yeah.
There was an incident report filed earlier that same evening. Youths acting suspiciously, trying car doors and the like, you know, the kind of thing. Patrol car responded, issued a warning, told the kids to move on.
Names?
Fred Smith, Eric Cantona, usual made-up nonsense. Except for one, Barry Descott, made a point of spelling his name out letter by letter.
More cheek than Claire Shaw, that one.
Talked to the patrol crew, pushed them a little. They remembered Descott right off, no trouble there. But then one of them, the driver, when I showed them Scott's picture, he reckoned the lad could have been one of them.
Only could have.
Might be something, even so.
You didn't remember which one? Couldn't match them to a name?
No, but one of them claimed to be a Sam Howard.
And you think that might be Scott Hubble?
SH, same initials.
Well, not a lot to go on.
By itself, no, but if it was Scott hanging around looking for trouble, and if, along with some of his mates, he broke into the club that evening...
Something could have frightened them off, you mean? They did a runner?
It's possible.
Aye, but...
And if they broke in there easily enough once, who's to say they wouldn't try it again?
What do you think, Graham?
One hell of a lot of ifs and buts, if you ask me.
You're never satisfied, Graham. That's one of your troubles.
Funnily enough, wife's is more or less the same. Bottle of that Czech stuff, is it? Lynn, how about you? Another gin?
Bitter lemon, that's all this is.
Oh, best a double then. Make up for it.
And you mean to say you just stood there talking to him like it was some kind of social call, this bloody policeman, letting him know our business? My business?
I didn't tell him anything.
Doesn't sound like it.
Nothing he didn't already know. Don't!
Don't what?
Take out your temper on the furniture.
One of these days.
You'll what?
Well?
Why didn't you tell me Jimmy was in trouble?
When wasn't he?
I mean now. Recently. Wasn't there something you could do to help?
I've been helping. You know that. Years. Pissing money down a drain.
But the shares.
What about them?
Well, my shares. What's funny?
You. Thinking anything you could do for that sorry has-been would make a difference.
I thought he was your friend.
You think a lot of things.
Yes. Yes, you're right, I do. One of these days I'll find out just how many of them are true.
Well, now, I wondered when you'd put in an appearance.
I thought I warned you.
I did what I could.
Keep my name out of it, that's what I said.
It wasn't me put your name in.
Now I've got the law poking their noses in, crawling over everything.
Don't tell me, Russell, a pillar of the business community such as yourself, don't tell me there's anything, shall we say, untoward you'd wish to hide.
What I will tell you, if anything turns sour for me because of this, you'll wish you'd set fire to yourself instead.
Looking a bit peaky, if you don't mind me saying so.
So might you be, Graham, if you just spent the best part of the morning cooped up in the super's office, listening to him outline a paper on policing initiatives for the millennium.
That wouldn't include locking a few likely lads up and throwing away the key.
More making positive interventions out along the cutting edge.
Well, meantime, get a load of this. Arson investigated. Official report just through. No clear or conclusive evidence the fire at the club was anything other than accidental. More than enough to make your pal Jimmy Nolan's day. A fair bit on the insurance, I shouldn't wonder.
I dare say.
One other thing, coins, Odins, Charles I, something like that.
What about him?
Sewed up amongst all the debris they took in from the cellar. Twisted more than a little, but still recognisable, apparently.
There is a point to this, Graham.
Oh, must ask D.C. Kellogg there. Smile on her face, and no mistake.
The coins were part of the haul from one of those antique shops broken into on the Derby Road, the same night as the fire.
So, unless whoever stole them found a buyer almost straight away...
Which is unlikely.
The coins found their way into the club inside the pockets of whoever lifted them in the first place.
And never found a way out.
And a more poor beggar than whoever it was did himself.
So what are we thinking? Scott Hubble, maybe? Aided and abetted by Messrs Descott and Farley?
Has to be at least a possibility.
I'm on my way to talk to Farley now.
Right. Graham, you hold the fort here. I'll take a trip round to Jimmy Nolan's. Wouldn't mind seeing his face when he hears the news.
Joanne, whatever are you doing in bed? It's the middle of the day.
So?
So, shouldn't you be at work?
Shouldn't you?
I rang them again this morning. The police.
So did I.
Why don't you get up? I'll make a pot of tea. Maybe we could go for a walk.
Where? What for?
Well, you can't just stay in bed, you know, not forever.
Can't I?
Well, it's not exactly going to achieve anything, is it?
Oh, go on then, Stuart. You tell me what is.
Jimmy? Jimmy? Are you in there? Yes, Resnick.
In episode 1 of Slow Burn by John Harvey, Philip Jackson played Charlie Resnick, Sean Baker, Graham Millington, Kate Eaton, Lynn Kellogg, John Rowe played Jimmy Nolan, Alison Pettit, Joanne Hubble, and Gerard McDermott, Stuart Hubble. Rachel Atkins played Nicola Venner, John Hartley, Russell Venner, Alistair Danson, Fire Officer, Jenny Lee, Clarice, and Carolyn Jones, Mrs. Wealdstone. The saxophonist was Mark Lockhart. The director was David Hunter. We present Slow Burn, a two-part serial by John Harvey with Philip Jackson as Nottingham-based jazz-loving Detective Inspector Charlie Resnick. Episode 2.
Resnick. Oh, Graham. What? Fire? Jazz club? What, you mean Jimmy Nolan's place?
God, Charlie, what are you doing here? Detective Inspector, CID? Just a fire, Charlie. One hell of a blaze, admittedly, but a fire nonetheless. Accidental. Should have thought you bigger fish to fry.
Accidental? Is that what it was?
Christ, Charlie. What are you thinking?
Yep.
Fire officer just rang through, sir. They finished making safe, going over the ground. There's a body.
Oh, Christ.
Child almost beyond recognition, apparently. Whoever it was must have been inside when the place went up. No way of getting out.
Not here. Stuart, he's not here. He's not in his room.
Well, maybe he got up early for once in his life.
Stuart, he's never been there. The bed's not slept in. He didn't come home.
Hey, 10 years back, he was offered a fortune for that club, Jimmy was. Some brewery wanting to rip out its guts, turn it into one of them state-of-the-art cafe bars, with all the personality of dogmas stuck on the underside of your shoe.
He turned it down.
Went back on his hands and knees not 4 years later, begging them to take it off his hands at a quarter of the price. Things had moved on, they didn't want to know.
And you don't know how he managed to keep going?
You know Russell Venner? Word is he bailed Jimmy Nolan out.
Venner came round, called me a fool for not going to him sooner. Offered to lend me 10 grand there and then, interest-free. Next thing you know, he's offering to buy a share in the business. Nothing threatening. 20%, then 25. His wife, Nicola, 15% in her name. She had the controlling shares.
And she sided with you against her own husband?
Nicola's not only Venner's wife, she's my goddaughter.
Mrs. Venner, I'm sorry to trouble you. I wanted a word with your husband.
I'm afraid he's not here. In fact, these days he's rarely here. Always working, Russell. One deal or another. Whatever it takes to keep us in this beautiful home.
And you mean to say you just stood there talking to him like it was some kind of social call, this bloody policeman, letting him know our business? My business?
I didn't tell him anything. Nothing he didn't already know.
I thought I warned you.
I did what I could.
Keep my name out of it, that's what I said. Now I've got the law poking their noses in, crawling over everything. If anything turns sour for me because of this, you'll wish you'd set fire to yourself instead.
Graham, what's happening?
Reports coming in from Collick Wood. Vehicle on fire. Pretty bad by all accounts. One person trapped inside. No way they could get close enough to pull him out. Him or her. Whichever.
Getting to be a nasty habit, this, Graham.
Playing with fire.
Any idea yet what happened?
Not clear, not as yet. Couple of youths are fishing, they saw the smoke, raised the alarm. By the time anyone got here, too late to be a lot of good. Did what they could, but there was no holding it back.
And you say there's somebody in the vehicle?
A body across the front seat, face pressed up against the glass, shouting, screaming maybe, trying to get out. Ambulance waiting by to take the body off to Queen's.
No way yet of determining who it is?
Not as yet.
Vehicle registration?
Lynn's checking it through now.
BMW, 2 years old, registered to an address in Edwalton, name of Venner.
Russell Venner?
No, sir, Nicola.
Jesus.
You want me to contact the husband?
Call his office. High pavement somewhere, I don't remember. Find out where he is, where he can be contacted. Important, tell them, but keep the details to yourself. Let's not go in feet first.
Right.
Graham, those youths that phoned it in, are they still around?
We're a few minutes in.
Take them through it carefully, see if they can't remember seeing any other cars in the area. Anyone behaving strangely.
OK, you'll talk to the fire officer.
On my way.
Don't hold me to this, Charlie. Not till my lads have given it a proper once-over, but from the way it's gone up, my God. Minutes and the whole lot were stripped away to iron. Oh, bone. I'd say someone doused the whole job in petrol. 1, maybe 2 cans, and set it alight.
And whoever that is inside, they could have done that themselves?
As long as they closed the window sharpish, I'd say yes.
I've talked to Russell Venner's secretary, sir. She says he went off to a meeting mid-morning. She gave me the number, but when I rang they said he'd already left. Think it's worth trying him at home.
Come on, we'll go out there now. Graham could keep an eye on things here. The other fire, Nolan's club. Have we got confirmation on the Hubble boy or what?
Not yet. Still checking out his movements, though. Spoke to John Farley yesterday. Shiftless piece of work, if you like. Admitted he was with Scott Hubble and Barry Descott earlier that evening. Claims he went off to meet some other mates at the showcase. No clue where Hubble and Descott were off to after that, so he says.
Spot a breaking and entering up on Derby Road, maybe.
Makes sense of that coin we found near the body.
If it's Hubble. Or Descott, for that matter. No closer to getting a clear identification, I suppose.
Some problems still getting hold of the dental records.
Chase them up, for God's sake. Put the parents out of their misery, at least.
One way or another. What do you know about them, Venner and his wife?
Oh, Russell Venner, he must be, what, into his 60s by now, I shouldn't wonder. You must have seen his name in the local paper. Money, politics, good causes.
And straight? No dealings with us?
Maybe sailed close to the wind a time or two, but nothing you wouldn't expect. Honest, I'd say, as his sort go.
And his wife?
Nicola? Quite a bit younger than him. Early 30s. You'd be a better judge of that than me. Married quite a while now.
Child bride, then?
No, not exactly. Kids of her own. Old enough to be off at boarding school. Prep school, whatever.
So, what's she like?
Bright. Attractive. Nobody's fool. At least not anymore.
You mean you think she once was?
When she married Venner, maybe.
Now she's what? Lonely? Bored? Trapped?
Maybe all of those things, I don't know. Not sure.
And she didn't come out and say so?
Not in so many words.
But you think that could be her back there in the car looking for a way out?
Hello. Didn't expect to see you again so soon. What's the matter? It looks as if you've seen a ghost.
No, it's just... your husband.
You're not still looking for him, surely?
Mrs. Venner, I'm Detective Constable Lynn Kellogg.
Yes?
I wonder if we might go inside.
What's going on?
Mrs. Venner, please.
No, whatever it is, I want you to tell me right now.
Do you own a dark blue BMW?
Me? No, that's Russell's car, or one of them anyway.
It's registered in your name.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. It's just his way. There'll be some advantage, I don't know. Second nature to him, I suppose.
So he does use the car?
Yes, I thought I just said.
Today?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to check in the garage. Look, is that what this is all in aid of? Has there been some kind of an accident? Is that it?
Mrs. Venner.
Mrs. Venner. Nicola. There was an incident.
Tell me.
The vehicle registered to yourself was found less than an hour ago in the area of Collick Wood. It was on fire.
Fire? What kind of fire?
We're not sure. Maybe there was some kind of an explosion, accidental, or it could have been purposely set alight.
And Russell, I mean, was he there with the car? Is he all right?
There was somebody inside the car.
And Russell, you're saying that Russell...
We don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You must know.
They're still working to free the body. When that's done, it will be taken to the hospital. There's nothing else we can do before then. No clear identification.
He's dead, isn't he? But you just don't have the guts to come on out and say it. Oh, Jesus. Russell dead. And you come here to... Burnt, you said. Burnt.
Mrs. Venner, come on, let's go inside.
Lynn, it's okay. We really don't know. Not yet. Not for certain.
But you do think...
I think you should be prepared.
For the worst?
Yes.
If that's what it is.
Here.
Thanks. You thought it was me, didn't you? After you checked the registration.
We didn't know.
I was listening to the radio just this morning. A fire at Jimmy's club. The body that was found. It's a boy, they think now. They still haven't been able to say who it is.
It was difficult, not having anything to go on. Not at first, anyway.
Nicola, I have to ask. Your husband's plans for today, did you know what they were?
Not really, no. He may have said something about a meeting, but I don't suppose I'd have paid much attention. I mean, that's what he does, what he seems to spend most of his time doing, going to meetings, coming home and complaining about them afterwards.
You can't remember anything special about this one today?
No, I'm afraid I can't, but look, call his office, talk to Virginia or whatever her name is.
Victoria.
Sorry?
Your husband's secretary, she's called Victoria. She confirmed your husband had a meeting at 11:30. His accountant's office is near the playhouse. He seems to have left earlier than expected. You've no idea where he might have gone?
No, I'm afraid not. None at all.
Found the lighter underneath the car down by the offside front wheel. Still make out the initials, RJV. Middle name James, apparently. Of course, that doesn't make it set a match in itself, but pretty nigh on.
Anything else?
Another set of tyre tracks, 50 yards away? Spit and a shuffle more, maybe? Earth turned up too, as if someone might have been leaving in a hurry.
And recent?
Well, looks so to me. Left scene of crime down there. Regular field day, right? Fresh air, plaster casts, Polaroids, video cameras up the wazoo. Right, what's it called? Multimedia spectacular this'll turn out to be. Michael Jackson on toast.
Those youths, Graham, the ones that called it in. Did they say anything about another car?
Did they, heckers, like? Not a lot else either. Not that they could agree upon. I doubt they're the brightest pair to emerge from our world-conquering comprehensive education system. At least, I hope not. Neither to me, off fishing like they do. They get the worm on right end of the line.
Well, there must have been other people around. Walking the dogs, kids in pushchairs, lunchtime constitutionals, whatever.
Whatever, most like. Regular lovers' lane down that way, you know. Might be just lunchtime for you and me. Quick cheese, cob and a flask of tea. But them as is parked up down there. Different many on their minds altogether.
Likely why this other car scarpered as fast as it maybe did.
Some bloke not over keen to get caught diddling someone else's old lady. Old man, for that matter. Something of an equal opportunity spot, Collickwood, I believe.
Have a word with the duty officer, Graham. See if we can get some bodies down there later today. Lunchtime tomorrow as well. Dog walkers and the like. Pretty much creatures of habit. Let's jog a few memories before it all becomes blurred.
Will do. Jimmy Nolan, Russell Flynn. Bit of a coincidence, don't you think? Tied in over that club and Nolan's, the way they were.
Unravel that one when we come to it, Graham. Let's wait for confirmation that it was Venner before we go tying ourselves up in knots.
Not for too long. Bit of a mix and match in the mark. They'll be able to get the wife in, identify the body. You'll go with her, you and Lynn, I dare say?
Most likely, Graham.
You're fascinating, huh? Watching folk come face to face with the nearest and dearest. Some of their expressions. Like them stories about our Russian bloke the missus is always on about them. Chekhov, is it? Her reading circle's crazy for him. Whole of the couple's life in a matter of a few pages, is what she says. But next to keen, staring down at that slab. Give Chekhov a run for his money any day.
You okay?
Yes. Yeah, I suppose so. It was so strange seeing him like that.
The fire.
It was it wasn't him at all. I mean, it was Russell. Even after what had happened, there wasn't any doubting that, but even so, I think I'd been prepared for, you know, the burns, his face and hands and some of his chest, but the rest, the way his skin, parts of it, this strange colour, almost cherry pink.
That's the carbon monoxide. Once it's taken into the body, Somehow stops the red blood cells taking in any more oxygen. Do you want to stop? Find somewhere to sit down for a while?
No, thank you, it's all right. I don't even know why I'm crying. What I'd really like to do is go for a walk. Fresh air. You wouldn't come with me, I suppose?
Yes. Yes, of course.
I did my degree here. Modern languages. Became a bit blasé about the place, really. The campus. In and out every day for seminars, lectures. Well, almost every day. It's easy to forget how lovely it is. One of Russell's reasons for sending the boys off to school, which I didn't want, not yet anyway, they're still so young, but one of his reasons was so that I could use my degree, get this translation work on a proper footing. You're a grown woman, independent, act like it, make your own decisions, live your own life. And he meant it. I believe he really did. He just couldn't stick to it. That was all. Couldn't help but interfere. Got so that some days after he'd left the house, I felt winded, paralysed. I couldn't move or make the simplest decision. I couldn't even bend down to tie my own shoe.
You talked to him about this, though? Tried to make him see?
I talked, and he promised. And the next month, or the next week, or sometimes the very next day, we'd be having the self-same conversation all over again. So in the end, I stopped saying anything. Just put up with it. Stopped caring.
For him?
For everything. Russell, the house, my work. Even the children. Oh, they'd come home at weekends and run through the door, so happy to be there, and then they'd see me. And it would be as if they didn't know who I was, because I didn't know them. I don't think I did, not anymore. It was as if I just couldn't feel anything.
You thought about leaving him?
Did I?
If things were as bad as you say.
You're right. Of course I did. Some days when he was at work, wheeling some deal or other, and the boys were away, I'd wear myself out thinking about it. It seemed so huge, impossible. It's much easier to drink my way through the day. Maybe I should have taken a lover. Perhaps that would have slapped me back to life a little, showed me a way out.
Maybe brought, I'd have thought, problems of its own.
I expect you're right. And now we'll never know. A little difficult to commit adultery without a husband, I suppose. After what's happened, this is a shocking thing to say, but, you know, there were times when I wished him dead. Oh, not like now, not something awful, terrible, nothing that would cause hurt or pain. Just dead. Not there anymore, absent. So I'd never have to cope with him again. Is that a dreadful thing to admit to?
I was married once. Another life, almost, that's how it seems. Anyway, whatever it was that was wrong between us went on for a long time. Too long. Until she up and left, Elaine. And when we finally talked about it, not then, but after, years after, those were her exact words, more or less. You know, Charlie, I wished you dead.
You must have been so hurt.
I don't know. I think by then most of the hurt had gone. Except those bits I kept around. Nourished, I suppose you could say. Kept for those times I wanted to feel sorry for myself. Have you thought how you're going to tell the boys?
My mum's going to take them to stay with her for a few days. They've done it before. They love it where she is, Northumberland. I think if I told the boys when they were there, it'd be a lot easier for all of us.
You let me know when you're leaving. Give me a number in case we need to get in touch with you.
Of course.
Further developments are expected today in the investigation into the tragic death of local businessman Russell Venner, whose body was found in the blazing shell of his car yesterday lunchtime in Collick Wood. Early speculation has dwelt upon the possibility of a crisis in the former council member's financial affairs, though those close to him have been quick to deny this. Venner's wife, Nicola, 33, is believed to be in a state of shock, and as of last evening she was unavailable for comment.
Those close to him, eh? I wonder who it was set off that speculation in the first place. Morning, Lynn.
Pathologist just faxed through, sir. Results of the tests on the body at Nolan's club. I can go over and collect them any time.
Nice of them. Either way, you'll contact the family.
As soon as I can.
Good. I'm off to talk to Venner's accountant, see if he can shed any more light on things.
Detective Inspector. Sorry to keep you waiting. I hope somebody offered you a cup of tea or something.
That's fine, thanks.
You wanted to see me about Russell, of course. So difficult to come to terms with. I mean, we must have been almost the last people to have seen him before it happened.
You said almost.
Sorry?
Almost the last to see him.
Oh, I see. Well, I assumed, you know.
No, I don't know.
I'm sorry. Let me start at the beginning.
Please.
We had a meeting scheduled for 11:30. Fairly straightforward, run-of-the-mill sort of thing. The kind we'd have every few months or so. Russell arrived a shade on the tardy side. 15, 20 minutes. That was unusual for him. More often the other way round, if anything. Rather an old-fashioned time is money, money is time sort of man.
And did he seem flustered? More than usually concerned? Angry?
Not angry exactly, more, well, exasperated. That's the word.
He didn't say anything that might give you a clue as to what was causing this exasperation?
Not really, not at all. Bar some remark about traffic.
And beyond that, you didn't ask?
No.
So what happened there?
We got down to the meeting, which, as I say, was of a fairly standard kind. We went over the usual items, cash flow, investments, discussed a couple of potential moves into the property market, all quite unexceptional.
Nothing then that might have made Venner feel any more out of sorts than he was?
Far from it. Quite the reverse, in fact.
So, the rumour that was broadcast this morning, attributing what happened to some kind of financial problem...
was simply a rumour, nothing more.
Which you were quick to deny?
The partners did make a statement, yes.
Quelling any disquiet?
Absolutely.
You'd want to avoid the impression of anything shaky in his financial affairs for his family's sake as much as anything, at a time like this. Your duty.
We have our clients' interests uppermost, naturally.
Mr. Venner's immediate family, his wife and sons, they're the major beneficiaries in the event of his death?
In advance of the reading of the will, Detective Inspector, you can't possibly expect me to...
If there's anything you're aware of, anything that was discussed at yesterday's meeting, or otherwise, which might help provide a reason as to why Russell Venner took his own life, then I want to know. I hope that's clear enough.
It's crystal, Inspector. And it does not change my response in one iota.
Now tell me about Venner leaving the meeting.
It's Lynn Kellogg, Mrs. Hubble. CID.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was taking a nap.
Shall we go in? There. I rang your work. They said most probably you were here.
Scott. You've got news of Scott?
The results of the tests are in. The body they found in the fire, it wasn't him. It wasn't anybody we can so far identify.
You're sure? I mean, there's no possible doubt?
They're positive, yes. It isn't Scott.
Oh, God. Oh, God, I can't believe it. I just can't. I was so sure. I was so certain. I couldn't say anything to anyone, not Stuart or anyone. But, oh, God help me for thinking it. I was certain that was his. That was his poor body waiting there all this time.
Come on. It's just a relief. Come on. Sit down. Go on. Been through a lot. Sit down.
You thought Scott was a thief, that's what you're saying.
We knew he'd been palling around with a couple of lads who have been anyway. From what we've been able to piece together, Scott was with Barry Descott that evening.
Well, that doesn't mean they broke into this, what was it, antique shop, like you said?
I know. It was never more than, well, a theory, if you like. What we were trying to do was find a way of fitting things together. The break-in, the coins, the fire, your son going missing. We had to proceed on the possibility that the stolen coins found their way into Nolan's club in either Descott's pocket or your son's.
But you don't know that Scott took anything?
No.
Well, you were still happy to accuse him of being a thief, a criminal.
Mrs. Hubble, nobody's accusing Scott of anything.
Well, maybe not now.
Better for us to have thought that and been wrong, surely.
Yes. But we're no closer to knowing where he is than we were before. Worse. We're further away.
Not really.
But we've not been looking for him, have we? Nobody has. Stuart and I have been going half crazy waiting, when we should have been out trying to find him.
You'll hear from him, Mrs. Hubble. He'll be in touch. You'll see.
So Venner just up and walked out in the middle of the meeting, without so much as a by a leave.
Apparently.
And less than an hour later, he was barbecuing himself in a public space.
So it seems.
What's in these? Pork, did you say?
Roast lamb, yours. Mustard, onion, little stuffing.
You know, what I find it hard to get my head round is the idea of this bloke sitting round a table with a bunch of suits, wielding calculators, all the while thinking about this can of petrol he's got in the boot of his car, this lighter burning a hole in his pocket, you know, Shall I Santa sort of thing.
Go on.
What makes more sense to me, insofar as any of it makes sense at all, is that he knows there's this other meeting he's supposed to be at lunchtime.
Which maybe he's trying to rearrange.
Earlier on, and without any luck. Which is why he turns up late. Why for it's off of a tizzy.
He's thinking to hell with it. To hell with whoever it is making things awkward for him. He's got a schedule and he's sticking to it.
Except when push comes close to shove, he can't do it. He can't stay away.
Who, Graham? Who would he feel he had to see?
Someone who's got in touch with him earlier that morning issued this ultimatum, meet me today or else, and not in the middle of the old market square for all the world to see.
Not business then.
Call it wood. I doubt it.
A woman?
Well, there's something of this sort. Whatever direction his particular fancies lend him.
So then what? He turns up, distraught, late. Whoever he's meant to be seeing, they've already gone.
Oh, still there, waiting. They have one almighty row.
Either way, Venner's so upset, he decides to end it there and then.
What you know about him, Venner? He strike you as being much like that?
No. That second car, Graham. Any luck in chasing it down?
I've got the mech on the tires, but that only gets you so far.
Those people we talked to, somebody must have seen something.
Oh, they saw something, right enough. Problem is, none of them saw the same thing.
OK, keep at it. It's time I talked again to Venner's wife.
You think she might know more than she's letting on?
Doesn't everyone, Graham? Were you able to sort things out with your mother the way you wanted? The boys, you know?
Yes. She's driving down to pick them up today. I spoke to the headmaster. It's all arranged.
Good. And you'll go up there when?
Tomorrow, I thought. Give them a chance to settle in.
I was wondering if you'd seen anything of Jimmy Nolan.
Jimmy? No, why?
Oh, somehow I assumed you were close. And your husband and he had been friends. Business partners of a kind.
We hadn't talked in a while.
Huh? Keeps nagging at me, you see. Your husband rushing off like that as if there was somebody had to see. Urgently.
What, and you think it might have been Jimmy?
I don't know.
Even if it were true, I don't see why it matters, not now.
Aren't you curious?
No.
I'd have thought.
I don't want to know.
But you suspect...
What?
Who was meeting? Collick Wood. If you don't know, I mean, exactly, you've got your own suspicions.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Was he seeing somebody? Somebody else? Is that it?
God. I thought... At first I thought you were just a bit pompous, but basically okay. But then, after Russell died, the way you talked to me at the hospital and after, listened, I thought, no. He's really nice, understanding. And all this time, that wasn't what you were after, no. Dirt. That's what you were looking for. That's what you've got your snout in the trough for, sniffing around.
Nicola.
My husband's in a state, disturbed, distressed enough to take his own life. He must have been having an affair. Stands to reason. Your reason.
Look.
Bit on the side, screwing around. Something wrong with our marriage. Well, no problem. No need to look any further than the master bedroom. Not enough sex, too much sex. Can't get it up and up.
Nicola.
Don't Nicola me! Wheedling round me all touchy-feely, faking it.
I only want...
To what? Rub my face in it? Push me down into the sheets and rub my face in it, Is that what she did? That precious bloody wife of yours, the one you were telling me about the other evening, so sad and crestfallen when you were still trying to convince me how loving and sincere you were. Is that what she did? Screw around and taunt you with it? Flaunt it, did she? Rub your face round in her sticky sheets?
Yes.
Good. Good, I'm glad now. Get out of here. Get out and leave me alone, and don't come back to tell me who it was he was having, however many. I don't want to know. It's over now, and that's all there is. It's just about all that's keeping me going.
Nicola.
Leave. Leave. Just leave me alone.
And were you right? Was he having it away on side, Vinny?
I think so, yes.
Well, there's something else.
The way things are going, I doubt if it's good news.
I talked to the pathologist. There was bruising side of his head round the temple. Didn't reckon too much to it at first. No obvious cuts, you see, abrasions. Thought possibly he'd banged himself against the windscreen once the fire had taken hold. Not so. Severe subdural hemorrhaging around the brain. He'd been struck twice. Something covered in cloth, maybe, so as not to leave a mark. But hard. Swung with force. Then I died of a fractured skull. Trauma to the brain. One good thing, he'd not have known too much about the fire.
Sent you on your own this time, has he? The good inspector? Apologise even, see if you can't get round me. A friendly little chat, woman to woman.
Mrs. Venner, I'm not here to apologise or ask questions. There's been a development concerning your husband. I think perhaps if we went inside.
Venner's will, Mr. Simmons. Who stood to benefit most?
Detective Inspector. I've already told you what little I can.
Mr. Simmons, I'm afraid that this is now a murder inquiry.
But surely I thought... we were led to believe he'd take...
If the bulk of the estates go into the wife and kids, nothing to make us raise as much as an eyebrow, we'll move on, start digging elsewhere. But if there were recent changes, someone new coming into the picture, pushing his wife's nose out of joint...
I think you can rest assured, Inspector, on that score.
And you can confirm that what you said before is true? Everything in the Venners' financial affairs was hunky-dory?
There were no major causes for concern.
No rivalries? Nothing that might have caused somebody else to feel threatened or angry?
No.
How about Jimmy Nolan?
Let me explain, Inspector. That club, it was never a good investment as it stood. Russell was acting against my advice when he became as involved as he did. All that was of value, really, was the site. A location such as that, ripe for redevelopment. There was an approach recently, in fact, within the last 6 months. A consortium wanting to open a casino. If Nolan had been willing to sell, step aside, he could have been comfortable for the rest of his life.
Instead of which?
Jimmy Nolan is a stubborn man.
And Venner would never have forced his hand?
They were friends, Inspector. It went back a long time.
I thought there'd been a falling out.
Oh, a good many, I dare say, over the years. I don't know the ins and outs, but argue as much as he liked, when it came down to it, Russell would never have pushed Jimmy Nolan out of that club. And I think Nolan knew that for a fact.
However careful they were, if Venner was having an affair, someone would have noticed. Someone would have seen. I mean, it's not as if he was exactly unknown.
Did all his cavorting likely out of town.
We can check restaurants in the general area, hotels, the airport. It'll take time.
That secretary of his, Victoria, is it? You've seen her. Maybe she fits the bill.
Which bill's that?
Oh, you know. Young, pretty, skirts up to here, still a little starry-eyed.
You don't suppose Venner's taste could be a bit more mature?
Oh, aye, there could be. A widow, divorced, late 40s, maybe older, bit of a smart dresser, nothing flashy, country walks and opera, that kind of thing. A companion, aye, it's possible. But likely. What is he, Venner? 55? More, no. She'll be young, you'll see.
Oh, come on, Graham.
Oh, I know. What you'd call a cliché, that. May have been sexist. Ages too, I dare say. Well, when push comes to shove, let's see who's right.
Yeah.
OK. Talk to the secretary, Lynn. If nothing else, you might be able to give details of any trips Venner made. Regular, especially.
OK,
and
sir.
this line on Venner and Nolan, bosom buddies underneath everything, we're taking that as gospel.
I'll talk to him again, Nolan. But whoever Venner was seeing, I think that's the key. Hello, Jimmy.
Oh, come on in. Excuse for a beer.
Zoot Sims.
Right first time. Social cool?
More or less.
You'll have one of these then?
Best not.
Less than Charlie rather than more. Hang on a minute. All these old tapes of mine. I was thinking what you said the other day about licensing them out, you know. A shame to have them all wasting away here.
Russell Venner. It wasn't suicide. Someone hit him on the head hard enough to render him unconscious. Doused everything in petrol, set light to the car.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Whoever would do a thing like that?
I thought you might know the answer.
Me?
An answer. A suggestion. You were friends, mates for years.
Charlie, I told you, we didn't see eye to eye about the club. He was trying to force me out. Sell it over my head.
What else? What else did you argue about?
Well, nothing else. There was nothing else. I've scarce seen him. Not to talk to, anyway. Never mind to get into an argument. You're not saying what I think you're saying.
I'm not saying anything. Asking questions, that's as far as it goes. Trying to understand.
Yes, well, we could all do with that, I dare say, Charlie. Understanding.
That's okay. We're having another practice at 6 o'clock Sunday morning.
Scott! My God, what are you doing there? Scott! Scott, wherever have you been? I mean, look at you. Oh, come in, come on in. Oh, come on.
All right, OK. Take it easy.
We were worried sick, Stuart and I.
He's not in, is he? Upstairs or anything? I could just see you through a crack in the curtains, sitting there watching one of your crap programmes.
Oh, no, it's his night out with his mates.
I reckoned it was.
You don't want to see him.
You'd only get to moaning on, shouting. You know what he's like.
He's been half out of his mind worrying about you.
Well, that's not the point.
You'll have to talk to him sooner or later. You know that, don't you?
Look, Mum, you don't fancy making a pot of tea, do you? Something to eat? A bacon sandwich, anything. I'm very famished.
You look as if you've not had a decent meal in days.
I'm not. Oh, great.
You've not been sleeping rough.
Maybe.
Don't be so secretive. Tell us. Tell me where you've been.
What's the difference?
Scott.
I'm okay, Anna. Isn't that enough? I don't suppose there's any more tea.
Of course there is. Here.
Thanks. I'm not coming back, you know.
You what? Oh, don't be so stupid. Of course you're coming back. Whatever else do you think you're going to do?
I'm going to London.
You can't. What do you think you'll do down there? You don't know anyone, you're great.
I'm going. Me and Barry.
Barry?
He's got mates down there. He's been before. He knows his way around. He reckons it's great. Top.
He's been in trouble, hasn't he? With the police.
So?
What do you mean, so? He's a thief, that's what he is. A criminal.
Oh, is he? Oh,
Scott.
You can't stop me, you know.
Oh, Scott. It's not a matter of stopping you. It's... Oh, this is where you live. This is your home.
Is it?
Whatever do you mean? Of course it is.
It is.
You mean Stuart?
Yeah. Stuart. This is my house, young man, and just as long as you're in it, you'll obey my rules.
Scott, he was only saying that for your own good.
Yeah? How does he know what's good for me, then? Mind reader, is he? Getting on to me, morning after morning. When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? Which classes are you going to take next? Which courses? Which college? Anyone would think he was some kind of genius himself instead of some bloke with a few GCSEs and a city and guilds. I couldn't even get into university.
Don't you think he knows that? Don't you think that's why?
Then that's his problem. His poxy life. Not mine. He's not even my bloody father.
You don't want me to give you a lift?
That's not how it works, Mum. Not when I'm running away.
The police. I'll tell them what you said.
Okay, Mum. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah? Oh, yes, of course. Are you all right? You want me to meet you somewhere, or... Half an hour. Here. Yes, right.
The first I knew, this policewoman came round. I don't know if I've properly taken it in. I mean, first having to try to adjust to one thing, and then this.
The boys?
With my mother.
They'll be okay, you see. They're good lads, sensible.
If only they had someone like you.
Me?
A godfather. Someone to look out for them, the way you always did for me.
Did I?
Yes. After Dad died. You know you did.
Oh, I tried.
I don't know how I'd have coped without you.
And without me, you wouldn't have ended up in that damn marriage.
Don't say that.
Well, why not? Isn't it true? There was I, so proud introducing you.
You gave me away.
I was a fool. I should have been more careful.
You weren't to know.
He was my friend.
My husband.
Not anymore.
Jimmy, don't.
It'll be okay now. You're still young. You can start again.
You think so? Who's going to want to take on a woman in her 30s with 2 sons?
Dozens of people. Hundreds. You see.
Name one.
Me.
Oh, Jimmy.
I'd look after you. You and the boys. Make sure you were okay. Just like I used to do when you were little. Remember?
Eh, lovely morning.
It's raining, Graham. What's put that gleam in your eye?
Mrs. turned to have that reading group of hers round to the house last night. Something to do with an accordion. Anyhow, I thought, bit of overtime.
You're not expecting me to sign for it?
You will when you're here.
What is this, Graham? Suspense?
Asked about Venner, the young woman. Restaurants and that. Nothing, not diddly squid. Then, this place out at Plumtree. Old railway station, I think it is. Asked did I have a picture of Venner, wanted to be sure.
And?
Not Venner and a woman, Venner and a man. Arguing something fierce, blows almost. At the end of it, this other bloke throws his glass of wine full in Venner's face and drives off.
This other bloke?
Your pal Nolan, sounds like. Description fits.
Your informant, did he know what they were arguing about?
Not specifics, no.
How long back was this?
2 weeks come Friday.
Nolan swore he'd not talked to Venner in months. You say he jumped up and drove away suddenly?
Yeah.
Likely not a cab then, not out there. He'd have had a car.
Easy enough to check.
Only time I ever recall seeing him behind the wheel. A van of some kind, transporting stuff to the club. He may have had some kind of a deal. Rental, leasing, something more informal.
Something with tires and match up to the tread marks out in Collick Woods. That's what we really want.
Day started well, Graham. Let's see if we can't keep it up. Despite the rain.
Oh, you sure you don't mind meeting here?
No, it's fine.
I missed so much time with all this worrying about Scott. I thought if I could see you in my break.
You've seen him, you said?
Oh, last night he came round to the house.
And he was all right?
He was fine, yeah. Ferret us out of house and home. But he's going off to London with that Barry Descott. I don't like it one little bit.
At least you know that he's okay. He made contact. That means a lot.
You think so?
Yes, I do. There was some
might have done. Well, they didn't.
Tell me that he asked you to pass on. A message?
Oh, that burglary. The one you thought they might have done. Well, they didn't. Scott swears not, and I believe him. But they did bump into this other lad, late on in the pub. Showed Barry these old coins. Wanted money for them. Barry told him to get lost. Scott wondered if that could be the youth who got caught in the fire.
Did Scott give you a name?
Lawson. Just the one name. He comes from up north somewhere, apparently. The northeast. He's been down here a while now, sleeping rough.
Thanks, Mrs. Hubble. We'll check it out. And when you talk to Scott next, tell him thanks.
Yup.
Vauxhall Estate, dark green. Belongs to a pal of Nolan's. Owns a garage, body repairs, that kind of thing. Seems if he's not using it himself, Nolan's got the run of it pretty much as he pleases. He got his own set of keys.
And the time Venner was killed?
Only doesn't know. He was out most of the day. Accident on the road to Newark.
How about the tyres? Do they match?
Checking them now.
OK, good work, Graham. Keep me informed. Jimmy?
I thought you might have been here sooner.
That was you playing?
Terrible, wasn't it?
Not for me to judge.
No? Isn't that what you're here for now?
Not judging, Jimmy. Somebody else does that.
Yeah, some old sod in a wig. The fire at the club. You know that was nothing to do with me.
The youth was found in there, apparently. Lawson. Likely been drinking. Careless. Lit a cigarette. Tossed away the match. Amount of rubbish in that storeroom, all it took.
You'll not hold me responsible for that.
There's other things more important.
You do know, then?
I think so.
You'll want to know why, I dare say. What you haven't figured out for yourself.
An hour later.
She was lovely, Nicola, when she was a kid. A young woman. And bright. Russell, he'd seen her, don't know where, but introduced me, he said. You're a godfather after all. So I did. Not yet 20 she was, not then. They got married not long after. Kids, had kids early. Early for these days. Lovely boys. That was when he started, Russell, fooling around. Nicola, when she couldn't look the other way no longer, she told herself it didn't matter. In a way, it didn't, I suppose. None of it was serious, that much was clear. Then he met this girl, 19. It was like he was meeting Nicola all over again, except that it wasn't. It was somebody else, this kid. And he was going to leave Nicola for her. Get divorced, remarry. I told him when I found out, I told him, you can't do that. Not to her, not to my goddaughter. And he said, don't worry, Jimmy, I'll look after her. Make sure she's taken care of. She'll not go wanting, not for a penny. But that wasn't it. I tried to tell him, pleaded with him. But he wasn't going to change his mind, no matter what I said. It was my responsibility, you see. In the end, it didn't seem to be anything else to do.
I'm sorry, Jimmy.
I'll come with you now, is that it?
Yeah.
No last phone calls, no...
At the station, I think.
And all this stuff, the tapes, all this music...
I'll see it's looked after, don't worry. Won't come to no harm.
And Nicola?
Let's go now, Jimmy. There's a car waiting outside.
In episode 2 of Slow Burn by John Harvey, Philip Jackson played Charlie Resnick, Sean Baker, Graham Millington, Kate Eaton, Lynn Kellogg. John Rowe played Jimmy Nolan, Rachel Atkins, Nicola Venner, Alison Pettit, Joanne Hubble, Gerard McDermott, Stuart Hubble, and Peter Kenny, Scott. Alistair Danson was the fire officer, Ewan Thomas, Simmons, Jenny Lee, Clarice. The saxophonist was Mark Lockhart. The director was David Hunter.
Mm-hmm.